कराची में सदर आरिफ अलवी तकरीब से खिताब कर रहे हैं।
If anything I'd like to do, I'd do it here. Why I would do it here? Because I wrote my first thesis at the University of Michigan, and I paid $1.50. That in those days $1.50 was a lot. I paid $1.50 per page to a secretary to type it. By the time I came into my second thesis, master's thesis was in San Francisco in '82 and '83. And I thought that is too much, and I need to be able to write, change my words, and so frequently. So I bought my first computer in 1983, which was an Apple IIe. And it had those floppy disks, you remember, with probably 64 bytes of possibility of storage, etc. And those floppy disks, I had two of them, and you could move them around. And there was the first word processing platform was Apple Writer. And I wrote my thesis actually on Apple Writer. Since then, I've always had access to a personal computer all my life. In fact, now, since '83, I've had that, and then in 2013, I get elected to the National Assembly. And lo and behold, I don't work on papers, I don't write on paper, I write on my computer all the time. And I take my slim laptop into the assembly. And the speaker actually comes down from his rostrum and he tells me this is illegal. I can't bring the computer into the assembly. And I had to struggle for 6 months to get the rules changed so I could take my computer inside the assembly. So the first time the computer was taken inside the assembly was by my efforts. But these are just expressing my interest in this. But Mr. Minister, very nicely you talked about three very important issues. One was the excitement around. Number two was the fact that we must encourage investment in this sector. And the third, which pertains to you and me, is the fact that we want to have ease of doing business. Now, things are expanding beyond our comprehension, and that is why people are afraid that all these sciences will take over. They have already taken over. They have gone beyond human intellect. The limitation, in my mind, of information and the ability to retain that and to be able to discard old information and to be able to get new information happens all the time in my mind. I was really surprised when I used to study for higher sciences in my professional career that whatever I read I could not remember, and when the exams were closed I realized that the first reading retention in my mind was about 30 or 40%, of course maybe 80% in ideas. And then the second reading improved that retention, and the third reading further improved that retention, and as soon as the paper was over, what happened was most of the things were lost, were removed from my memory. So there was an active thing which was happening at the neuronal level. There was a house cleaning going on, there was a prioritization going on. For example, all of you sitting here, if I ask you what clothes you wore 3 days ago, you may not remember. What happened was, but you may remember the clothes you wore yesterday. So what happens was, when we go to sleep, or happens is that when we go to sleep, the brain does house cleaning. It reinforces with electrical signals certain memories which are important and disengages from memories which are not important. It's a regular house cleaning thing which happens in the human mind. That is a neuronal activity which the artificial intelligence and new computers studying deep situations in the deep mind, for example, are looking at these phenomena where judgments can be made. We make judgments based on our bias, based on our experience, but with that experience and bias is limited compared to the hundreds of thousands of images being taken on the CCTV camera there. And it has happened in 2015, for example, and 2016. Around that time, these cameras and these machines took over. They were stronger than human intel to be able to recollect faces and to be able to identify faces. They went much beyond. So where I talked about speech, similarly there were imagery in which the biggest strength of the new change is happening, imagery, and the other big strength, of course, is about data. And the analysis of all that, if I would be a salesman, I would be looking at my customers And I would remember the fact that this customer likes this customer likes to spend, this customer has certain preferences about things, but that is limited knowledge with a few customers who come to me. But today, if I am able to look up the data of that shop, for example, the 10-year past data, and
कराची में सदर ममलिकत आरिफ अलवी 19वीं ITCN कॉन्फ्रेंस से खिताब कर रहे हैं। उनका कहना है कि IT के शोबे में सरमायाकारी की जरूरत है। और अब आप देख सकेंगे प्रोग्राम का बकिया हिस्सा, देखते रहिए डॉन न्यूज़।